Hello and welcome to Business Today. I am Siddharth Zarabi, and with me today is a very special guest, Ramesh Iyer, the MD and VC of Mahindra Finance. Thank you very much for your time with us, Mr. Iyer, for joining us today on Business Today. We are focusing on your latest earnings, and the scorecard shows that there's a twofold increase in consolidated net profit at around 629 crore in the fourth quarter. And a drop in bad loans seems to have helped. Take us through the latest earnings and what they really have accounted for.
Thank you. It's extremely important to understand the first quarter of the year was one of the most difficult quarter given the pressures of the second wave that the rural was going through. And our NPAs have raised to very high 16% levels. That's only second time in the 25-year history that we've seen that number. But we were very confident looking at the profile and the segment of customer we work with that they would bounce back. And true to that story, in the 3 quarters after that, we've seen quarter after quarter the improvement. The customers have come back to normal. The earnings have returned back to normal for them. The activity levels are kind of pre-COVID level already. And just to kind of talk a few segments, we talked about the tourism, we talked about the school operations, we talked about the temple tourism, we talked about people movement and the contracting segment. I think all these segments have opened up and people are actively engaged in their activities out there. The crops have been good, yields have been very good, the support prices have been good, and the farm cash flows has also held up. Rural typically works on these two cash flows, that is farm and infra cash flow, supported by the on-ground activity. I think all of this is what is added to a good return of normalcy for us from an overall corrections on asset quality is concerned. Same is true with disbursement. Sentiments are positive, the demand is high. All of us know shortage of inventory is one of the issue out there. Otherwise, it could have been even better. Yes. But that is also returning back to normalcy. So both of this together, disbursement growth, asset now going to grow again, and then clearly asset quality correcting has added to the overall correction leading to profitability.
For our viewers, since you spoke about disbursement, is it back to pre-COVID levels?
So clearly, the base is small, therefore it's much higher than that in terms of disbursement. So we look at 2019 as a good year for us from the rural level, and we are seeing we are clearly out there. As I said, if the vehicle availability was better, the disbursements could have been even much better.
Mr. Iyer, total income declined by 5% to around 2897 crore. What led to the fall and what kind of NIM are you working with currently?
So as far as NIMs are concerned, they were very stable at 7.5. So we don't see a challenge there because our borrowing cost is one of the best in the industry. Our average yield is good. So that's not a real issue. But, the asset was degrowing, right, last couple of years. Yes. And the disbursements were not catching up, whereas the overall collections was much better. So the rundown is faster. So that definitely causes a little dip to the income. The second is there has been a one-time provision of about 140, 150 crores towards some interest refund for various customers whom we had given a structured program. And therefore, we have taken that provision this time. And that's not a repetitive number. That's only a one-time event. And these two are the real cause. And as the assets have started growing, disbursements are picking up, you will see this getting corrected pretty soon.
I want to turn to a broader point, and your company is also a barometer for the economy, particularly the rural economy, like you said. We've seen significant supply issues due to the chip shortage in the vehicle industry. How is that playing out for you? And since we spoke about disbursements, what kind of target have you set for yourselves this year, considering that the chip shortage is not going away anytime soon?
So again, if I put a percentage of growth, it's not going to be real relevance because the previous year first quarter was virtual washout for rural, right? Yes. So therefore, you will have a very high double-digit growth as far as disbursements are concerned. But what we would really measure for is, we have built capacities to do large volume. And clearly, therefore, availability of vehicle is one issue. And when the new vehicles are not available, what typically happens is people don't sell their old vehicle. So they hold back their old vehicle for their use, and therefore the supply on the pre-owned vehicle starts to suffer as well. Whereas the demand for both new and old vehicle are very, very high. I do expect, but as we talk to many people, that you're right that the chip problem is not going away very soon. But clearly, the inventory levels are improving, and we should see a betterment on the disbursement front. As you've seen, we have also latched on to some new segments of lending. The SME segment we are opening
Yes.
up. We had done it about a year, 2 year back. We were doing
You
it.
also have a new vehicle leasing
That's
vertical.
right. So we'll, both of this, again, vehicle leasing will have a direct linkage to the same availability of vehicle issue. But as far as SME is concerned, we are clearly participating in the overall Mahindra ecosystem, whether working with their suppliers, their dealers, likewise in the various other OEMs that we work with. So we see that as a very, very big emerging opportunity. And that should, to an extent, offset the little slowness that we may see in the vehicle front. So overall, we are very, very positive on the growth front and disbursement front.
Let's also get you to give us a segmental outlook. Tractors, utility vehicles give us indication of how the rural economy will perform, and commercial vehicles, including farm and construction equipment. What's the outlook on that?
So clearly, as I said, all fronts have opened up on an activity front, whether it's on the infra front, whether it's road projects, whether it's mining, all of that is opening up. And we are very clearly seeing traction on the commercial vehicle construction equipment, including tippers. Yes, we are still not seeing less than 5 vehicle owner coming to buy because the cost of vehicle is high, cost of operation is high. So they may take a little time. But other than that, we are seeing that. So for us, last 2 years, commercial vehicle has been a very, very low base, and we were a very slow disbursing there. Clearly, that's going to be one big growth engine for us. On the tractor front, while we see the farm side tractor buying has slightly slowed down, we saw that. But again, this year we saw already in April, we saw good numbers from the OEMs, and that's coming back. And we also see the infra side of the tractor, contracting side of the tractor begin to buy. So that's going to be another growth to watch for. On the utility vehicle, pickups, LCVs, there was always good traction. Essential goods transportation was doing well. So I think put all this together, we are very bullish on the rural economy. Next 22 to 25 will truly be a growth story in rural is what we are readying for.
Is there a sort of a dark cloud that you are seeing on the horizon from an interest rate perspective? We have seen inflation push through pretty much everything when it comes to the consumption basket, and high fuel prices are feeding in, volatility is feeding in. You know what is happening on agriculture commodities, although I believe due to the insanely hot summer, early summer, we have seen a good yield and early yield as far as the wheat crop is concerned, for example. So is interest rates, according to you, a dark cloud on the horizon?
See, we have to look at it as follows, right? If the activities are at high level, the demand is high, I think these kind of cost gets absorbed, right? It's only when the demand is weak, people are already under pressure, the activities are low, and then the interest starts to go up, people just can't absorb it, and you don't see people buying products. So I'm honestly not very kind of concerned if the interest was to go up, and that was our prediction as well, to say that, mid 23, mid 22 lead up to March 23, you will see the increase in the interest cost beginning to happen. But I think it will get passed on to consumer, to the borrower, and then the borrower eventually will pass it on to the consumer through freight rates or through passenger fare and whatever else, at least on the vehicle front. So I don't see that. I mean, you take fuel as another example. You touched on it. Definitely cost of operations for everyone is going up with fuel price going up. Currently, everyone is focusing on getting back the activity to normal. That we are already seeing. Once that stabilizes, you'll start seeing the fares go up on freight and passenger. So I think for that level of operator, eventually the ultimate consumer bears the cost.
Okay. I'm also told that you've been looking at the credit card segment. Are you in a position to talk a little bit more about that?
So it's a very recent circular. We as you know, we have set up a vertical called Digital Finco, which looks at small ticket loans for consumer. Clearly, we see an opportunity on that front for customers. Secondly, we work with a very large ecosystem. The Mahindra employee ecosystem itself is very large, and the group ecosystem. Then you look at the suppliers, dealers that we work with. So from an opportunity perspective, I think we think it's a good opportunity. Too premature to comment on, how quickly will we get into, but there's a team which is working and studying on that. and very soon you'll hear from us our decision. But we, on the prima facie, we feel that yes, it's a good opportunity.
Mr. Iyer, I'm going to ask you a completely tangential question, and this is to do with the broader debate on electric vehicles. Why I'm asking you about your own sense of the overall electric vehicle segment, primarily a passenger play at this stage, is also because what we have seen when it comes to fresh investments in power, for example. A lot of investments have gone into green energy, solar power, and today we have seen this summer that we realize that thermal is still our mainstay. If I were to take that same analogy and ask for your views as an industry leader on electric vehicle and the future overall, what would you say?
I think we all should not definitely compare about where we are today. All of us have the responsibility to create a better future. And therefore, I would very strongly think that everyone is putting in their best to be much future ready on this front. And I think electric vehicle will definitely be the future of a sort. I'm seeing it from the customer side. There are people individually, we are all willing to convert ourselves to that segment or that direction, right? So we should all have patience. I think infrastructures will get built. Everyone talks about where is the charging station. If you buy a vehicle, is it comfortable, not comfortable? These kind of operating issues will keep coming up, and there'll be somebody behind the scene working on the solutions on this as well. But just look at a couple of years back, there were no electric vehicle. To today, if you look at it, the number of vehicles on the street have gone up. I think you go to any housing society, you can clearly see electric vehicles in each housing society. So I think if you were to look at what it was 3 years back and today, you will think we have progressed well. But if you say that, oh, where are we? Will we really progress? I think we'll all think we are not doing enough. So I think we should all have patience and work together on this. It's a good future. Necessary.
One final question, and this is to do with you as a leading financer. What should industry and government do when it comes to trust around batteries? You've seen customer trust has been eroded. There is clearly somewhere some standardization, usage, installation issues, and there are government agencies looking at it. But as a leading financer, what would you say needs to be done so that we have a good quality ecosystem that comes up?
So I think first and foremost, I guess, is a collective responsibility of educating the customer on do's and don'ts. See, because we also hear defense on was it charged correctly, was it used correctly, and therefore there has been some problems and all those kind of stuff. So instead of debating it on that basis, should we not all come collectively together and come out with a document which clearly states on do's and don'ts, so that there is no excuse around that to say, oh, was it done right or not done right, kind of a thing, right? That's the first thing. Second is, I would think before commercializing it, there should be probably enough of controlled use to see what are the challenges that it brings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then make it a large public availability. Because once it's out in the marketplace, then to handle this as a problem becomes even more challenging. So
absolutely. In fact, just to interrupt you, I'm always reminded about the tough standardization, quality checks, homologation, etc., that applies to convention vehicles. Yes. I wonder, and I'm not sure whether the same kind of rigorous application happens when it comes to electric vehicles. Do they sort of escape under the radar, Ramesh Iyer?
I don't have knowledge on that, but I'm just kind of giving my common views to say that one is educating about it, and second is really kind of putting it to all kind of rigorous use before it comes out to public. Could be the two approach that one could take possibly.
Absolutely. Ramesh Iyer, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for your time. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. If you've been, thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
much.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.